from the technologies of innovation, now we're going to the house of innovation. Whenever I speak about GCC, I always see people sort of smiling. Some people are not really, impressed by the word, but they have come a long way, right? Like them or hate them, GCs have evolved a lot over the past few years. Even in our engagements, we've seen clients when they used to talk about, cost savings, scalability. Now the conversation is around how do you track metrics, right? How do you show value for GCCs? From the number of products launched, impact on revenue, right? Products in the pipeline. A lot has changed over the last few years. Even in our research, what we have seen is out of the 2,000 plus GCCs that are in India, 50% of them actually have centers of innovation. And these centers of innovation are not just namesake innovation. They actually are experimenting, adopting, and helping the enterprises adopt actually these technologies at scale. So it's a huge, real impact that they're creating. Also, I'll be joined by my panelists very soon, but we have seen out of the 50% of these 1,000 GCCs that have COEs, 50% of them have actually started with COE as their first model. So they are climbing up the value chain. They've climbed up the value chain, actually going backwards from there to really scale. So there are a lot of interesting sort of changes happening. You would have read about it. We actually witnessed it also, that GCCs now are extended enterprises, right? They are no more captive, quote unquote. They are no more offshore centers, but they're really extended capability of the enterprise. So decision making for finance, decision making for procurement, decision making for innovation, what products to be launched in the market are all taken with the help of GCC, right? But successful innovation needs leadership. It needs a champion. And I'm very glad to sort of introduce and welcome my fellow panelists who have been champions of this innovation, stalwarts. They are here to challenge our thinking and hopefully change our mindset about how we think about GCCs. So I would be glad if you could welcome on stage Sushant from Circle K, Akhilesh from Philips Innovation Center, and Avinash Baliga, my dear friend with whom you've had many GCC engagements. So welcome on the stage, please.
Cool.
Yeah, I think should be on. So thanks for making time for us. But if you can just, if we can quickly start with introductions, and Akhilesh, starting from Akhilesh, if you can quickly introduce about yourself and your journey and the journey of GCC.
Sure. Can the last person hear me? Yeah? Okay, great. I think after the coffee break, it's important to get the attention and justification for the last person to be up and running. So I want to do that. Okay, my professional part of the journey, I did the boring part of doing CA and MBA, as my parents or anybody's parents would have wanted, being a back buncher. That was never expected of me. So I still ended up doing that. 27 plus years of professional experience, basically working with CXOs across the globe. Stayed in 5 countries for more than 2 years or more, right from China to US. Helped me get a global perspective. Worked for companies like GE and Maersk, which are pioneers in their own industries. And for the last 3 years, I'm with Philips, looking at their shared services and being the managing partner representing Philips Netherlands headquarters as their board member and signing partner for their entity in India. My role revolves around essentially looking at what India can do for the globe and then what India can do for India. Just to set the context, Philips in India is roughly 9,000 people. That's roughly 13% of our global headcount. 5,000 of them handle software products development and innovation, which is taking care of 60+% of the global software which is designed by Philips in India for the rest of the world. Then we have around 2,500 people roughly looking at our hardware design development and manufacturing in Pune. Then we have our India commercial office, which is selling products in India. If you know the brand Philips in India, we are here for 90 years plus. And then we also have our traditional shared services with transactional processes in Chennai. So we have 4 big cities present. So we're responsible for building that. In my personal capacity, which is what keeps me actually motivated, I'm a trained professional commercial pilot. I've flown with Indian Airlines long ago. I am with my friends and hobby. I watched Top Gun Part 1. I'm that old. The Top Gun Part 2 came after 32 years. I'm still able to see that. So I can imagine how Tom Hanks looked too long to make it. So I ride bikes and custom bikes for my friends and families. That these two, three things keep me off guard on weekends, not to think about what I did Monday to Friday. So that's briefly about me. Yeah.
That's great. I think creativity runs in your blood then, and so does innovation. Sushant, over to you.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I started my typical career as a engineering graduate and did my masters in software engineering. And I spent initial few years of my career with consulting companies, and so I know what you guys think and how you guys operate. And then I started my own AI company. I was pretty ahead in the curve. I started that back in 2014, 2015. It didn't turn out because market was not ready for that. So, but I learned a lot, a great deal with that venture that I did. Post that, I started my career with a lot of captives, GCC, the different naming conventions that we call. I spent more than 12 years with banking industry, worked with Barclays, NetWest, led multiple global teams across the globe, based out of India, UK, Scotland, different countries within Europe as well. So that's what I did. And then recently I am heading Circle K. So Circle K, I don't know, a lot of you would be aware about. So we are a company based out of 31 different countries, spread across United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, New Zealand, Africa as well. So we have a big presence in North America. That's where 80-90% of our business comes from. Our GCC started 2.5 years back, and that's when this journey started in India. Our journey is pretty unique because we didn't started like you started initially, Chirag, that a lot of GCC started with COEs. Our journey has been pretty unique, and it has been one of a use case of this industry to talk about because we started with AI. The first function we set up in India was AI. We started with AI, we set up data science, then we moved with analytics and reporting, then we did data engineering, and now we are setting up different COEs like procurement or other functions like supply chain and all. So journey has been totally different. I hold 3 patents. I have written multiple research paper already. In my free time, not adventurous like you, but I like to play corporate cricket. So I play cricket matches on weekend whenever time permits with the season ball. So that's what keeps me fit and healthy, and also helps me to collaborate with different people.
Thanks, Sushant. That's interesting. I think a lot of people know you by now, but if you could just give us a flavor of your, GCC engagements over the last decade or so, I think that'll really help.
After their introduction, I'm thinking of what should I say about myself to sound.
You talk to me over the weekend, yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people in the room know me, but for someone who doesn't, I'm a partner at Avasant, 22 years in the industry, I think over 12 years at Avasant. And in my role, I focus on the healthcare practice as well as helping firms set up their near shore, offshore centers and help them with that strategy and operation as well. And I think in terms of interests, I read quite a bit and dabble in the stock market. I've lost more money than made, so hopefully that's interesting enough.
And save some money for your clients. Yes.
Thanks, Chirag.
And let's start with you, Sushant. So, when we sort of advise our clients, we sort of talk to them about evolution and how you can, start at a certain stage and grow and scale. But like how you were describing your model, sort of you started right at the top of the evolution chain, and now you're looking to, grow. So we typically also look at clients when they want to set up GCCs and they say, we need access to data, we need access to talent, etc. And that's a differentiator GCC can bring. So could you just talk about, How was this conceptualized, the GCC 2.5 years ago? And how did you define innovation, and how is Circle K GCC really helping the enterprise?
So our journey, like I said, our journey started with AI because eventually the work for analytics, data science, or you call it data analytics, was happening in India with some of the vendor partners. There were a lot of gap in the communication because they were not understanding what organizations was looking out for, and so they needed somebody to be based out of this country so that we can manage a lot of activities. But we were very clear that we'll not be getting in that collaboration model. Either we do it or somebody else do it. We were very clear from day one that we don't want to have those gray areas where the ownership or responsibilities were not clear. They were like, okay, you start with some activities. So we started with pricing. Pricing itself is a very big problem because considering our scale, we have 18,000 stores across the world. Every store has roughly 20,000 products. You can imagine the scale and the complexity that it brings. And different countries and different local nuances also makes it more complex. We took on that challenge. We said, okay, we'll do and we'll solve the pricing for at least 60% of our stores and 60% of our sites that we have within different locations across the world. We started initial pilot with couple of countries, one business unit or a states in US and one country based out of Europe. That's how we started our journey. We didn't started something saying that we'll build enterprise, we'll build something which is we'll do something across the organization. We said, okay, we'll start with couple of business units, couple of countries, and then we'll scale it up. We spent 3-4 months trying to figure it out. What are the gaps? How we can solve it? How we'll solve this problem? Because it's not. It sounds simple to do pricing, but it's a very complex problem to solve because company revenue depends a lot on it. If you do a wrong pricing, then your market share start decreasing and it goes to your competitor. And if you price lower, then you don't make profit. So you have to have a balanced strategy whether you want to get a revenue or you want to get a profit. So that was the plan. We started with that, and we were successful. We burnt a lot of oil during those initial days, but we figured it out that we will be able to do it. And the intention for us was to start with 50 people. You start a department of 50 people with AI and data science, and then scale it up. We were like, okay, we'll scale it up. We'll make it a sustainable model, not just hiring 50 people on day one and start delivering something. I still remember when we started, we had 20 people for good 5 months, and we didn't hire. And there was a lot of pressure we were getting from our headquarters that what are you guys doing? You are not even hiring and you are not even delivering something. We were clear because we know what we are working on. We were communicating. We had the roadmap. We had the plan. Then we started delivering. The moment we know that we hit that point where we can deliver and we can build something out of it, we showed the value with those couple of countries, and that's how we started scaling our hiring as well. We set up our team over a year of time. We scaled that solution across the globe. So that pricing solution, which was not solved for last 5 years, we did that in 1 year. And it was done in such a way that the pricing is now real time. Market situation is changing, economic scenarios are changing. We can price something in just week time, which is pretty massive, right from your strategy to printing those sticker on the shelf. That has been massive, and that completely transformed how this company used to operate. That has been one of the big success story for us. Organizations saw that these people can do something, they can drive something big, and now I'm very proud to say all the product you see in Circle K store across the world, the pricing is done from our office based out of Gurgaon. Every single price point is recommended from our office. Then we say, okay, now pricing is done, how we can make more impact. Then we started with promotions because promotion is another important aspect in the retail side. Then we started with the assortment because that's another complex problem to solve for a retailer because the store size is limited and you cannot have every product within your store. For example, in some location you sell Pepsi more, some location you sell Coke more. So you need to be little practical and have some AI based approach to help you understand what are the customer behaviors, which product you need to sell within which location. So we came up with those methodologies. We did some complex sort of a solutioning over there. And one thing we really did was that whatever we built, we were always clear that we'll explain to people. Because if our business partner, they are not able to understand what we are building, why we are building, if we are not able to explain our algorithms or whatever AI we are using, then it is not going to be getting that attraction. It is not going to be getting that sort of confidence that why we want to do it. We were very clear on that, and then we built these three complexities, these three products, which are pretty complex in their nature. Then after 1.5 couple of years, then organization said, okay, you guys are doing pretty good in March. Now why don't you start with pricing and within the fuel as well? Fuel, we all know, highly commodity market, and it has its own challenges. Now we are doing a lot of work within pricing, be it selection of a micro market, be it understanding and reading what competitor are doing, or doing a lot of erosion detection, using some AI, pricing, all sort of those things are happening from our office. And then we created that ecosystem. So it's not just about having a data science team who is doing it. So how we created that ecosystem, I'll take a few example to talk more about it. We have a data engineering team. The data engineering team takes data from the market and they helps us getting the required prerequisite, which is necessary to build something using AI or data science on top of it. Then we have our data science / AI team that builds those forecasting model or build some AI on top of it to help us that, okay, this is going to be the volume that we will be selling next month and the following months. Using those volumes, we have a team which is doing a planning that, okay, these are the adjusted forecasts. This is how we should, these numbers we'll be selling within this site and this location. Then we have a supply chain team, which makes a strategy that using the arbitrage of the crude oil and the fuel, that how much fuel we need to have in our tanks, how much fuel we should not have, because if prices goes up, it's always good, but if prices goes down and you have a huge volume of your fuel in your grounds, then it gives a lot of losses as well. So you need to have a strategy around those things too. We have a team which does that out of our office as well. Then you have a stock reconciliation team, that how much fuel we are getting from different vendors or different terminals or fueling partners, then how much fuel we are getting. So that reconciliation is also happening from our office. Then we have a billing team. So it's end to end, right from your data to selling that fuel to customer and making sure the billing is happening. So everything is happening from our office. So that creates that ecosystem.
So if I can just summarize what you just, Sushant, is basically you start small, you prove your value, and then you suddenly start, sort of scaling to other business units, and then slowly start getting into other processes, etc. You may also have these matrices that you would have shown that, because of a pricing, the sales went high, etc. That's interesting. Akhilesh, if I can just sort of transport that question onto your situation, where you sort of were looking at a large GCC already, right? You spoke about 9,000, 10,000 plus. How did the innovation sort of come in, right? And how did you decide what processes you will own as a GCC and what processes would you use the vendors to collaborate with?
So Philips is like a 25-year-old journey in different phases across India. Essentially, the first thing I was told was you have to come in undo the two words which have been misused the most in the industry. One's called transformation, the other's called innovation. The most abused buzzwords. Yeah, anything and anything you do, you put them under this umbrella, you can sell it. So the first thing was to try and differentiate what kind of processes you don't want to be bothered about. Something which should be a BAU as usual. Okay, anything which falls in that category, whether you insource it or you outsource it, you should be agnostic to the outcomes of that it should run as usual without having a disruption. So all our transactional, I would say non-disruptive business parts, we're looking at partners to say, how can you come on board and work with us? Whereas things which really drive decision enablement, something which requires a change in the business actions, is where we said this is what we will keep in-house. So very clearly you can say the patent and responsibility for design and decision enablement stays with the company in-house, and the transaction execution of something which should not be disrupted goes to our vendor partners. In different capacities, different processes. So sometimes companies have IT strategies, so consolidation of IT or finance. So that's how we've split our work in different functions. Even for IT, finance, IT, supply chain, we have a very clear understanding The partner will help us execute the transactions, and we'll own the outcome orientation of that and the decisions which are taken from that. For example, if we outsource the analytics, the decisions which drive the analytics from that is owned by the GCC and the business partner. So that's the broad distinction, if you ask me.
Got it. So, and what about, sort of, we spoke a lot about AI, Gen AI, and the new age technologies. So when you want to experiment with them and when you want to sort of invest in the new age tech to see how it can disrupt, something, we was talking about how, for example, iPhone disrupted, the phone or Nokia market.
Yeah.
And now GCCs, we are seeing more and more examples of simulating this lateral disruption from other sort of industries. So do you do something like that?
Like any other company, we are also trying to deploy Microsoft Pilot, Copilot, and see how it can help in the data part. And I've been old enough to start looking at the data of macros and RPAs, and to come to this stage of AI tomorrow. You have SaaS solutions tomorrow. Quantum will make SaaS outdated. So it's an evolution which will go along. But the way we see in the organization, and my biggest role is not about deploying AI or any such thing and worry my teams about, your jobs will go away and all of that. My broader role is to have them understand that how do you come up with innovation and disruption within the industry. So like I gave the example, 2004, not in the board of Canon or Nikon, they would have ever anticipated, or even for Nokia, they would have never discussed, Apple as a threat. Nokia had the patent for the smartphone, but they never deployed it. Same as Kodak and all that, right? All those things we learn about. So my worry is not about the quality of data computation, the speed of data computation, which AI will bring in. Who takes the decision based on that, and what decision is taken based on that is more important than how the decision is arrived, how the computing is done. For example, would a GM, a Toyota, or a Honda, if they deploy AI, today's AI, 15 years ago, could they have come with a threat that Tesla will overtake the market cap more than all of them combined? Never. And the problem is the disruption in any industry never comes within the same industry.
Yeah.
It has always come from somebody who is bootstrapped, separately coming out and disrupting. So while AI will help us speed the decision making, do some tasks faster and smarter. I heard about DeepSeek, right? Does anybody know what did DeepSeek do? Anybody? You've all heard, right? NVIDIA stock went down 33%. And DeepSeek, we all heard that broadly?
Yeah.
Yeah? What did DeepSeek do? Anybody study beyond that news article? Anybody? Yes, no? Yes. Can you say in common man's language?
So it's like feedback mechanism. They did not just rely on pre-training.
So if I put it in simple language, they took 200 people like your analytics teams, let's say, put them in one city in China, and said, do coding and get all the data which is there in the current AI module or chat GPT
And organize.
and extract it out. So they had 200 coders extract by running queries everything which was existing put in chat GPT by anybody and everybody, NVIDIAs of the world. They extracted all of it, made a copy of it, and that's why it's cheaper. And tomorrow, anybody wants to create it, you put a query, take the existing data. They don't have to recreate the data. Somebody did the dirty hard work. They just took that out of that own skill and then used it. It's how you leverage data. For example, all of us use WhatsApp. Yeah? Did any one of you hear how much WhatsApp was sold after 3 years of its inception? And
19 billion.
19 billion, right? A company which has zero revenue model, zero. None of us pay it, right? We all think we are customers of WhatsApp, but probably we are users because we've never paid a penny to use WhatsApp. But still, more than 10 years ago, They sold for 19 billion. The TikTok owner is the 25th richest person in the world today, despite losing 35% of revenue volume from India once we banned TikTok in India. The point is, we are all happily giving away our data to a platform which is using it with these so-called AI models, which the vendors and companies are selling happily, to only invade our privacy and use as a data sets. And today the sales strategy, if I was Circle K, I would take all this data, this is why they'll get paid by WhatsApp or any Facebook, and you say, okay, if I walk into a Circle K store, what should I get promoted to buy?
We do that.
Right? Now that's in me invasion of privacy, but we don't have privacy laws across the globe. So there is a very thin line in how an individual keeps giving away his all personal preferences and data, and then one of the partners or third-party tech companies or companies will go and buy that service to manipulate us only. So that's how the business models are evolving. So if you have to have a product or a sustainable design, it has to go in that direction where how the data is being leveraged by the companies, that is what will become more important, irrespective of whatever solution it comes in. And of course, computing will get cheaper. Today it's too expensive. But the point is how you leverage that for decision enablement is important, the way I see it. And last thing I heard is change management. And it just triggers me to ask a stupid question. And if any one of you is wearing clothes, same clothes from yesterday?
No one will raise the hand.
Means as a lazy guy, I know I do that on weekends sometimes and get kicked, but any one of you? So point is, and I saw change management as the biggest point, right? The problem is, in our personal spaces, we all know changing clothes every day is a pattern, we've accepted it. Moment we come to our jobs, change management becomes the biggest challenge because I don't want to just change anything. I still want to work on Excel, which is a 30-year-old software. All the fancy tools of Power BI have no meaning. Excel still rules. So it's how you evolve with data, and that's where we are looking at partners. Can somebody take us through that journey? That's the way I would put it.
Yeah, that's very well put. Thanks, Akhilesh. So if a provider, for example, wants to demonstrate, hey, you can use a vertical specific tool like you said about Circle K, and that's how it's going to displace your existing tool set, which may be complicated, and that's how you drive change. Going over to you, Avinash, I know I don't want to use innovation transformation buzzwords.
You can,
but
it's how you deploy.
Yeah, I have to tread carefully.
But in the deal making that you've done recently, on GCCs, how have the SLAs really changed from the erstwhile to more business driven? What changes have you seen in the recent deal making, that kind of drive innovation?
I think I'll probably go broader, but I'll answer that question. I think end-to-end process ownership, I think, Sushant spoke about it a little bit. I think GCCs are gravitating towards it. Service providers have been doing it for a while. So instead of locking into one silo, I think there is a need to own the process versus just have bodies, which means it also translates to customer experience. What was my end business outcome that was expected, etc. And sometimes you may not own the whole process, but you are still sort of publishing a dashboard whether you met that goal or not. And then you figure out root cause analysis, the whole drill, right? I think broadly also picking up on Akhilesh's point, the level of technology and innovation that is coming out today by far is the highest that we have seen. And if you look at GCCs, they're getting into molecular genomics as an example. I mean, one of my clients, they invested in a platform which brought hospitals together to basically correlate patient data with the symptoms and reactions to drugs, which means essentially even when COVID happened, they were able to predict where is the next wave coming based on the symptoms that patients are reporting in that region. So all of that is actually, there are teams in India which are building those engines. And to his point, I think there's a lot of data in the public domain which we don't own, but somebody is monetizing it. Some of it is good, some of it is not that great, but I think people are working on predictive analytics. People are working on, how do we use this data to bring more revenue. I think all of that, India will play a pretty significant role, and I am seeing that innovation curve. I know it's a banned word right now, but then
My company's logo is innovation and you, by the way. That's why I've been told to redefine it.
No, I mean, point taken. I think in a very meaningful way, we are going to see that innovation wave come through with, democratization of AI and, technology being available at a lower cost. I think, pretty much like he rightly said, disruption comes out of a different industry, a bootstrap player who does not have all those constraints that a large corporate or an enterprise probably puts on itself because they're scared of either cannibalization or somebody is not able to look through it through the lens that somebody else can. I mean,
If I can add to your point.
Sure.
So there's two things. One, like we've started recently, I think in the last SSON meeting in May last year, is this new word GCC was coined, if you ask me. I think it's almost less than 1 year old. It was captive, BPO, third party captive, GBS, so on and so forth. These nomenclature are done to refresh and drive change management. Has something changed overnight from a GBS to a GCC? Probably the answer is no. Okay, this is another new marketing wave. Let's give it a shot. If you're not able to market something else, you have to come up with a new way. But what's important is to ask, we are called as a tech hub of the world, right? Our tech talent is everywhere. But do we ask ourselves, if you ask me, which is one global platform we have designed or created in India or by an Indian? If anybody can ever answer that, that's where you will realize that what are we? Are we here to implement S4HANA because SAP can hold any other company which is existingly on SAP as a global company at ransom? That I'm not going to help your previous version being supported next year onwards. You better go on S4HANA. That's called ransomware. Okay, that's called monopolistic. Okay, if tomorrow WhatsApp comes and asks us, start paying 1 rupee per person per day, will we happily pay? Of course. You have no choice. You've migrated. But can they do that in China? No. China anticipated tech and data power 30 years ago. They have replica of LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, Google, anything and everything of their own ecosystem. So there are two contrasts. There's a country called US, which has data for the rest of the world except China. There's a country called China, which has probably through TikTok data of the rest of the world, but nobody in the world has their own data. We are still in limbo, providing services to probably both of them and not valuing the data, why TikTok and a WhatsApp is valued. So unless you evolve to a platform based, where India can have a WhatsApp of our own, which can be scalable globally, or an ERP system, which like Soho as a company based in Kerala is trying. They have an open-based platform. Apart from that brand, I have not seen. So the evolution has to come from outcome orientation and sustainability rather than these birds. You can still call me donkey, but if I create a new product called donkey and it's applicable, everybody will buy that.
That's an interesting point. And how we have seen it play out is also the commercial models, right? With the providers, in terms of, if you sort of give us X more revenue, you'll get, your revenue sort of is tied to that. Have you seen such models? And have you kind of used
So
them?
what we use is, see, very frankly, so a lot of the GCCs have stopped investing in L&D. Okay, learning and development. becomes a very fancy word. But if you see the investment and cost in L&D 10 years ago, all support functions keep reducing their cost, right? That's how the GCC cost is. The change has happened is that what we have done is we've gone and say, I will reduce, give me X amount of people. So today my target is not 50 million budget for my GCC. What I'm saying is, this is fine. I have these 50 people. They will help you reduce your inventory by $500 million. If they do that, that's the outcome. Don't worry whether I use 10 people or 20 people. So we've gone to a outcome-based orientation because headcount and productivity, I have to give, in India, I have to give 10% productivity and offset it with my increments. It's not a sustainable model 5 years later.
Understood.
So you have to go into revenue-based model, which is what we are going. So we are not worried about the vendors. What we are telling the partners is, if you are here for a outcome value, you help me reduce my inventory, because inventory is cash flow is money, and then I'll pay you X amount. I'm happy to pay you 5% of that extra. Whether you use 5 people or AI, or you use 100 people and do them manually work on Excel, no problems. You take your call.
Got it.
So that's why the technology usage is agnostic. Outcomes are more relevant.
Got it. I think I would love to sort of continue this conversation, but we have a last minute. If I could just go across the room, 15 seconds, what are your top challenges that you may seek outside help for? Sushant, if you can just start.
Outside help for, I think change management, that's one thing which requires a lot of effort, because with a company like us, like I said, we operate in so many different countries. So we need to have that enterprise scale, but it also requires a lot of personalization because of local nuances. So that has been another challenge that we have faced in the past. So we can be better within those activities.
Yeah. Avinash, where have you seen?
I think being able to disrupt your current business model and introduce new technology or new revenue stream, that is where I think the next money is going to be made. And to his point, newer products where we own the data as well.
Understood. Akhilesh, you want to add something to what you said before?
I would say having an end-to-end visibility of outcomes. For example, if I go back again old days, anybody who was a C+ coder or a Java coder, he knew the full code. Right? You probably would have that advantage. Today, you have a front-end coder, you have a back-end coder, you have an integrator, and you have a lean or a whatever facilitator.
You have DevOps.
Right? DevOps.
Scrum Master.
Unfortunately, none of these 4 or 5 smart people, I call them duds, know what is actually the product outcome. And that's how we created silos, because that's how GCC survives, and I reduce attrition by that. Okay, I split the work, nobody knows it all, they can go anywhere, they can't do much more. So my skills are getting lowered, and nobody has an outcome orientation. So a C+ Java guy who knows complete process of coding and designing can be groomed on the new software, low code, no code, and be a much more savvier outcome guy than the new skill. So I would say getting that outcome orientation in people and having an end-to-end business appreciation is our biggest challenge.
Got it.
And I add one more thing, that we need to change some KPIs as well. So when I enter, the first question somebody asked me, what is the scale of your GCC? So our definition is by number of people, not by the value creation. I would have been happy if somebody would have asked me that, what is the value you are creating out of your center, not the number of people. So that is one mindset that needs to be changed.
That's why we all, I think KPIs, we keep saying, I think the time's up, it's very big red. But see, at least whenever I've sat in meetings with third parties like yourselves or with Accentures of the world or anybody else, I said, don't get into KPIs. There is not a single KPI in a back office industry which we cannot turn green. Only thing you have to do is keep breaking it down. The more you break it, it starts turning green. Nobody cares whether the business is red or not. KPI will be green. So I can make sure every KPI, all that watermelon effect, I can create that green watermelon effect in every KPI. I can challenge anybody giving me one KPI.
Our KPI is red, so I'll quickly tell
So I can't turn it green if I break it.
I think innovation is the name of the game. GCCs are here to sort of really help their enterprises innovate, lead the industries. And if folks like you want to partner with GCCs, You have to focus on how will you drive change management, focus on platformization of a lot of your capabilities and verticalization, and also be challenging enough and challenge your clients to disrupt themselves so that they can sort of survive and thrive. Yeah. With that, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much, man.